there, welcome back to a new episode of the Mass Business Podcast. My name is Matt Ward and I am your host. Today I'm bringing you a special guest, Michelle Falanga. Michelle is a two-time Emmy Award-winning professional voice talent with over 2 decades of experience in the industry. She is the voice of multiple national commercial campaigns, corporate videos, conference openers, trailers, animation, virtual reality, and artificial intelligence, as well as live music and drum competitions in stadiums all over the world. Her voice is chosen for being authentic, natural, relatable, and honest. In addition to being a voiceover, Michelle is also an actor and a published author, an old soul with a young spirit. Michelle is a 5-year-old child trapped in the body of a 52-year-old woman and is destined to be wearing Hello Kitty pajamas into her 90s, listening to Sinatra. And if she does it right, she'll do it my way. Are you ready? Let's go.
High five the world. I'm feeling all right. High five the world. Yeah.
Welcome to the Mass Business Podcast, where small business owners, also known as risk takers, share their stories about the growth of their business and themselves. Our interviews and our content is focused on growing a small business and understanding networking and referrals. I say it all the time, and I'll say it again today. You never know where your next referral will come from. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show, Michelle. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. That intro, I feel like, who is that girl?
I know, right? It always feels different when somebody else is reading it, especially when we wrote it ourselves. So, I know I read it, but just summarize it real quick in under 30 seconds for our listening audience on the podcast platforms that they're listening to or also watching on YouTube. What is it that you actually do?
I'm a voiceover, so I lend my voice to projects of every kind for different companies and clients all over the world. Mostly I do short form. I'm not really a long form girl, so I do commercials for radio and TV and short form videos for companies that want a video on their website or their social channels. Just anything to get their message out. And I can do phone greeting things too, but mostly I focus on things that make people feel something. That's what I do the best.
How long have you been doing that, Michelle?
So I've been doing voiceover for 24 years, but only full time for 8 years. I went all in 8 years ago, full on. Yeah.
Now, what was that like? I mean, just jumping,
Terrifying.
right? Yeah. We've all been there, right? Because we all started at some point. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what that journey was 8 years ago.
Yeah. So again, I always had I'm kind of like a girl who likes, have a full-time job and, income and all that. I've never really saw myself as an entrepreneur, doing my own business. I always wanted that security. And about 8 years ago, I got laid off from that job. They say things like that happen, right? So I got laid off from a job that I loved. And while I was at that job, I did acting and voiceover on this. I performed in murder mysteries and improv shows for acting every weekend. And then I would do, voiceover once a month or something, but it was certainly not my bread and butter. It was a little, icing. And then when I got laid off, immediately my brain was must find new job, but my husband at the time said, he's still my husband, at the time, just to clarify, he said, that he wanted me to pursue, he's like, you're so good at this. Why don't you try? And I was like, what? No. Yeah. And so honestly, I credit him for kind of giving me the courage to do that. Cause I don't think on my own, I would have jumped and taken that leap. And to be truthful, I always say this so people understand this as a opening, starting your own business as an entrepreneur. It took, I think, 5 years from then going all in to make what I was making at my job, to build that business. The first year was oodles and noodles and eggs. Second year, I doubled that. Third year, I doubled that. And ultimately 5 years in, I remember like hitting my spreadsheet and being like, you just made what you used to make as a manager, like
5 years ago.
5 years ago. But that's what I'm saying. Like I was
But
like,
you still wouldn't even be there with the theoretically cost of living increases either. So you're still in a lot of ways catching up. But, what was the rat race like for you when you first started? Like, what was the biggest struggle, do you think?
The technical part of it. I'm not a gear nerd or anything like that. Like people ask you what mic you have, and I'm like, it's a Scooby-Doo 560. I'm so bad. I literally don't know. Like, so learning, to me, that's like the hard part, the mud. I'm good at like connecting to a script and bringing it to life and, infusing it with something that makes people think or feel or just hear it, just like get across the message. But when it comes to like, what mic you have, how you plug it in, all the technological stuff, I'm just like, like to this day, I hate that. I had my original booth was in my closet. I dug out all my clothes and dug out a closet and lined it with like bedding. And then I worked with a person to help me get my sound up to par. And I had that plugged in and everybody would be like, try this or, unplug that. And I'm like, nope, we don't touch we don't touch the plug-in. Like I literally did not touch that setup for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then a couple years ago, I switched over to a booth and I had to do that all again, not my fun, but so I just wish I have to do the engineering. It's part of my job. I engineer it. I also edit it and all that, but that's my least favorite part of it.
So in growing the technical side as well, from the editing side too, was probably a big learning curve for you then too.
Yeah, I've never edited an audio file. Now I'm like, I still don't love it. I do it. That's why I think I don't do long form, because it's a lot to like edit all your breaths out. So I'm like more of a 30-second girl.
Michelle, when did you realize that long form wasn't for you?
I mean, I don't to me, it's exhausting. To this day, I still get stuff. Like I have a client who just gave me a script that was like 1,000 something words. I'm more of like a 250 word girl,
Yeah.
or, short form commercials. It's just more my workflow. It also takes too much time for me to edit all that. But I did it for them, but it was a lot. I remember being like, this is not fun for me. This is not my joy,
So that's so interesting that you bring that up, because my new book, The High Five Effect, How to Do Business with People Who Bring You Joy, is all about selecting the right customers and the right type of business that you want to work with. And I'm super intrigued by the internal discovery that you had that long form was not for you. What it sounds like, you connected the dots to not so much reading the script or performing the script as a voiceover artist, but more so the back end work necessary to actually produce the script was just not your joy. And so you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. And so you make an exception here or there.
Yes.
But somebody comes to you with an audiobook, you're out.
I'm like, I got somebody I can give you.
Right.
Yeah, I refer people all the time, and like e-learning's another one that's like a lot of like modules and whatever. And again, I've made a few exceptions, but I don't do a lot. And I feel like because of that, I don't even audition for that sort of thing. I target what I know is my wheelhouse, and I'm very intentional about that and very specific about it. Another one that I refer people to that I get chosen for, and I'm like, don't choose me, is medical narration. Because it's all these like big words, and like you have to sound like what neuro blah 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 blastomy is, and I don't. And I can do that on most scripts, but I find that very cumbersome and just yucky. And
in your business too, it's going to show through in the voice, right? In the actual end product. You're going to hear the lack of confidence.
And there are many voiceovers that I've actually referred people to because they're fantastic at that. They love that. They enjoy that. I don't enjoy that particular genre.
So when did that discovery occur for you? How early or late in your business cycle was that?
Pretty early on. I mean, I started, it's funny because
But I mean, like in the first year, did you push these long projects away?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You did?
Well, I didn't even try for them. I didn't have like like I have such a wealth of clients now that come to me repeatedly now. So it wasn't even like, it was just, I wasn't even auditioning for those. I was auditioning for the other ones. But yeah, it just kind of happened like organically. Everything honestly about my business, I talk to a lot of voiceovers and they all have this trajectory and they do the same thing and all these things. And I kind of, I don't know, carved kind of a little bit of a different path. Like I just trust my instincts more.
Yeah.
Versus like what they tell you, like they tell you certain things you should never do. And you should never audition and leave like a lead in, like where you're like, you lead in with a different word. I do that all the time. Or like I'll laugh in the middle of a thing and they're like, you should never do that. Or you're supposed to like follow exactly the specs the client has. I don't do that. I go with my own instincts and I'll get hired for it. And I've learned that by watching, like you'll see something you auditioned for and they had a certain spec they wanted it to be. And then you'll see it on TV and you did what they wanted. And then you see it on TV and it's not anything like they wanted because they don't always know really what they want. And so you should at least bring your own instincts to it. You can certainly do maybe one take with their instinct or whatever, but then also bring you to the table, because that you're the one bringing, I let the script inform me of how they should be read, not a spec.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, I think, oh man, so much to unpack there is this idea about instinct, right? And trusting your gut, right? I talk about that in the new book when it comes to picking the right clients. And it sounds like you did that from early on. Most people take on clients early on that they see red flags in and they know they shouldn't take on because they need the money. And so it sounds like because you had enough money coming in the household just to, right? You didn't have to take the long form stuff. You could actually draw the line there.
I don't think it was that as clear as you're saying it. Like, I think that it just wasn't that I was auditioning for that sort of thing. And then, I mean, to be honest, in the beginning, there were many clients that paid very little. And this is embarrassing because I would never do this now, but I remember like a big pizza company, like we all know, like they wanted to pay $30 for like a national ad or like a really big commercial ad. I remember at the time being like, and I can't remember the different things, but I would take certain smaller jobs like that, through every year. I got a little better, a little smarter, a little wiser. And now I'm like, I actually just turned down a job, which was like worldwide usage and all the things. And it would have been a lovely $500 that I could have used, but I had to hold up a certain standard because that should have been like $4,000. And
right.
It was honestly still killing me, but I had to say no to it because of my colleagues. I want to raise the standard. Like, it's like my husband always compares it to hiring a plumber. He's like, you're a plumber. He's like, you don't have a plumber come out and be like, I want the bathtub and the toilet and the sink. And if you could install all those and I can use them forever, but can you just can I do that for $30? Like, you're just like, they're not going to do that. No plumber's going to do that. But unfortunately, in my industry, there are still a lot of people who undercut and will just like take it because they need, they'll just do it for $30.
Well, it's a resume builder, right? The big pizza company is a logo. And it happens in the speaking industry. When I started, I was doing a bunch of things for momentum, right? And I was doing, I was picking and choosing, but I would do a bunch of free gigs.
Yeah.
I still do free gigs, but it's very selective, right? And I often don't do free gigs because they just ask. Like, I just got selected for a gig this morning, but it's a free gig and it's in Philadelphia. And they don't pay travel or anything. I'm not going to Philadelphia for a free gig. I'm not.
That's weird.
If it was right down my street, maybe I'd consider it more, right? So, and it also depends on who the audience is and how I can use the content and can I videotape. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes into the mix that makes it much less of a red flag, right?
Yeah.
And so I think understanding who we want as clients is such a big part of our business growth and trajectory. It sounds like over the years you've adjusted those things, right? And you've gotten to the point where you're starting to really find that ideal client for you. It sounds like you have a lot of repeat customers, which is great, right? Obviously, in the business that you're in, it's not a one and done. If they're doing a commercial ad, they're probably going to do more than one.
Yes.
Long term. So that's good. What would you say, as far as the biggest struggles in your business have been over the last 8 years full time? What do you think the biggest struggle has been?
Trying to think. I mean, so I'm not super great at like marketing in the sense of like I don't find I'm like every year I get a little bit wiser, a little
Hmm.
better, and I realize, and I have a thing that shows like how many you should have had that way back, but I didn't have that. Now I'm like, okay, most of my leads came from blah blah blah. Most of
Hmm.
my stuff came from this. I get, I would say most of my work comes from people hearing my voice first and then hiring me, because I auditioned for it. So I'm on a few sites that are called pay to plays,
Hmm.
and which you pay a fee and you get like 30 auditions in your inbox every day. You pick which ones to choose and then you audition. So their first introduction to me is hearing my voice on their script
Mm.
for like 30 seconds, and then loving your voice and then hiring you, versus me reaching out saying, "Hi, I'm Michelle, I do voiceover." Like that has never really worked for me.
Right.
And also I've learned from keeping this spreadsheet now that, well, about 75% of my work is repeat clients, which is amazing. And then 40% of my work last year, 45% was international, like
Hmm.
Germany, Italy, Finland, Japan. Like I work with clients all over the world. And that also tells me that although I live in Boston, my voice has no regional accent. I sound like I can be anywhere in the world. And that my voice can reach a huge, wide audience, which is why I've done a lot of national spots.
What do you, just for the listeners' pleasure?
I'm not going to be able to do a
No,
voiceover.
no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. What? I would never. That's like asking a comedian to tell a joke. I would never do
Just
that.
gonna sing,
Um,
sing a song, Kelly
what
Clarkson.
do you think the most recognizable commercial you've done is,
Um, Honestly,
or thing? I say or thing. What's the most recognizable
yeah,
job that you've done?
I feel like the one that got the most, like everybody saw, was the whole series a couple years back of the Southern New Hampshire University ones. There was
Oh,
like,
SNHU, the bus that went around.
yes,
That was you.
yeah. That's why we hit the road again at SNHU. It's like that, and the one at the graduation scene where it's like, at Southern New Hampshire University, we're committed to your success. That's why we hit the road again. And it's like all of those. So I did their whole, like, I was their voice for like a good couple years, and those were on literally everybody I know would be like, "I'm doing dishes, and every day I hear you." So that's like one that most people heard. But there's another one I did that's national for Daily Harvest. I don't know if you know what that is. That's on all the time. Daily Harvest is like a food service that delivers kind of thing. Um, Daily Harvest. I've also done native deodorant, which is like a natural, non-toxic deodorant thing. And there's a national, PGA Tour.
Oh
I,
wow.
I did some stuff for PGA Tour.
Yeah.
I've been,
So very recognizable brands. It's
yeah.
so funny, SNHU. So my good friend Jason Cutter, who really I was talking to him one day, and that's where this podcast came from.
Oh, wow.
As we were just brainstorming and stuff, and we were talking about this, and then out of that conversation came this idea for this podcast.
Yeah.
Jason Cutter got his master's from SNHU when he was living in Northern California, and he did it all online.
Yeah, you can, it's all online, I think.
So I wonder if he responded to your ad. The world is so small.
Yep. I
That's
heard
so,
this podcast.
that's so great. That's so awesome. Yeah, no, it's always cool to kind of relate things. I mean, you have a little bit. I would say you have a little bit of celebrityism in there, right? In what you do, because if you get the big pizza chain and they run the thing on the Super Bowl or something like that, you never know. But is that when you get these big gigs like this, these big clients, does it drive you more to do more and serve more in what you do? What does that do for you as a business owner?
I mean, it's cool. Like like you said, the Emmy thing. It's like I get like everybody's like, you need
Yeah.
to step behind you so you can.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. It's the Emmy. Look at that.
It's real.
That's so cool. What was that for?
This one, they were both for commercials. This was for a commercial called The Legend. Again, it wasn't like a big name brand. It was more for a it was for an ad company, actually. It's a beautiful ad. But I will say I was lucky that this producer happened to put me on the creative team, because there's a lot of things that win Emmys out there that the voiceovers, I would say most of the time, voiceovers do not get credit like that. So because it's funny, because like the music guy, the producer, the writer, all these people get an Emmy, but like the voiceover, which really kind of ties it all in a bow and is really like what impacts it all, it's not the only thing, but it's definitely part of the mix, doesn't get credit, which is so weird to me. Anyway, so he was like, Michelle, your voice is one of the reasons we won this. So he put my name on it. So I was blessed to have that because of that very generous producer. But the celebrity, so I would say that the reason I do what I do and what wakes me up every day and I get excited about is, again, for me, I've been through some pretty crazy struggles in my life, pretty like traumatic, major things. And I think that's why my voice has like a vulnerability to it, like a relatability to it, and like an authenticity when I read. And so like the things that I get to do are like a lot of, like, I would say 70% of what I get to do is stuff that makes people like feel something, whether that's inspired, motivated, understood, just something that makes them feel something, like, the person running, struggling through her like demons, like I get that. Like, it's not hard for me to reach that read, because I feel like that on a daily for myself, like just to push through a lot of the physical stuff that I have. So it's like, it just comes out in the read. There's like an authenticity there. And so in that way, I believe that the read will then be on something that somebody will hear. And then I like to think the message will come through to them and give them what they need to feel, because, that I feel like I'm a vessel to like bring those messages, if you will. Yeah. And so it's not about like, oh, it's certainly great and it's better money if you get these bigger things. But one of my favorite projects was this drum show I did. I think it paid like $200. It was this little job, still my favorite job to this day. And it was for one of the drum shows, and it was like this narration, and it filled this huge stadium in a like a world competition for this drumline group, which they're very talented and amazing. And they do all this choreography with the drums and the music, and the people are just amazingly talented. And my voice was on it. And it was the monologue from, do you ever see American Beauty, the movie?
Oh, I don't probably, but I don't recall it.
That's okay. There's a monologue at the end where he dies, and he talks about the last moments of his life and how everything flashes before you, and all you feel is gratitude. So it was like this very poignant, like, words that I was saying, and it filled the stadium with this beautiful music behind it. And it was just like goosebumps. That's what I do. Goosebumps. And it was just like, and you could see they panned to people in this full football stadium crying. Like, it was like beautiful. And again, I was just a small piece of that, but it was like, again, I get chills just thinking about it. Still to this day, one of my favorite projects ever. And that didn't pay a lot of money. It's not a big name. Nobody knows what it is, but it touched 1 million people. So yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important as business owners that we do what makes us happy. Right. And we hang out with the people who bring us joy.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about the types of people you hang out with. You do a lot of networking. Are you involved in voiceover groups, and other voiceover artists that not only you refer to, because you mentioned that before, but you get advice from, or you lend advice to?
Yep. So I have a few groups. I used to do like a kind of a weekly, we do like what they call VO workouts, like voiceover workouts with this group of people. I kind of stopped doing that. I was doing that for years, but they're great, and I refer people over to them. And then I have an accountability voiceover partner, if you will, a partner in crime, because honestly, it's such a unique field, and we're so isolated in our booths that we don't really get out much, and we don't really see each other ever. So once a week, her and I meet every Monday at 11:11, because I'm all about, I love, what do you call that? There's a name for that. I love
iteration.
No, 222 or 333.
Oh, yeah.
We meet at 11:11 every Monday morning, and on Zoom, and we talk about our, somebody said this at a conference I went to once. It was like, your happy, crappy, focus, fun. So it's like for this past week, what made you happy? What was crappy? Like what thing wasn't great? What's your focus and what was fun? Something fun that has nothing to do with voiceover. So we kind of like meet and we support each other and, talk out any problems we might have that are like, something where, you run into something, oh, this client, I didn't know how to answer them. We help each other. And then I have another group like that with four voiceover women that I talk to. And then there's other voiceovers that I just randomly meet with once a month, once every couple of weeks on Zoom, to just kind of like, they're all different. They're all unique. And I have different relationships with all of them. And they're all wonderful.
So other than voiceover artists and other than your current clients and other than lead gen sites like pay to play, when you think about referrals, what type of industry person is sending referrals your way? Is it video people or?
No, and this is probably an area where I struggle. Like I've become a couple things. I've become a member of like the local chamber thing and the SCORE, trying to network, maybe find referrals and help each other out. But I feel like what I do, I don't think anyone really understands. So I don't feel like I get a lot from that. And then in addition to that, unfortunately, as much as people will love you, and I do have some clients who refer me, but most clients, they don't want to refer you.
No, they want to keep you to themselves.
Yeah, because they don't want everybody to have your voice if they're using your voice.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a weird thing. So you can't be like, please, just like most people, most industries, you happily refer them, right? But
they don't though, Michelle. No? So every industry runs into the same problem you're talking about. Clients refer 1 to 3 people over a lifetime. And partners refer 1 to 3 people a year. That's why you refer so many other voiceover artists, because it's not a good fit. So you send them to the right people. Here's the thing with that. There's 2 reasons why they don't refer. One is they want to hoard you to themselves, right? They don't want to share you. They want to make sure that you're available. And you also mentioned the other part, which is you're the voice of their brand. So if they send you out, you're not the voice of everybody's brand. Right. That's not beneficial to them. So they're not going to willingly share you out. The other reason why they don't refer you, clients, is because they're not in a position to do so. So the person that hired you at the company is not talking to their counterpart at other companies about production of commercials. Right. But who is in a position to hire you on a regular basis is the video editors, the video production people, the people around social media, marketing and campaigns, the people who are producing videos of some kind, people like myself, like professional speakers who do a lot of videos, things like that. So finding that right niche of people that are talking to the person who makes the decision that hires the voiceover artist.
Yeah. Like I've thought about, so there's groups that I've always like, this is part where I struggle. I'm not great at this. I know there's like many untapped market things that I'm not really dipping into. Most recently I do a lot of things with motionographers, motion graphics people who are like the most talented people. They make these beautiful motion graphics and I've voiced a million of them. I even have a sampler on my website of motion graphics samples, which has like 10 samples in it. And so I'm like, I should become part of motionographer groups and motion graphics groups so that, I kind of like see what's going on and kind of maybe connect with some of them. I'm just really bad at this stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm not, I need to work on that.
Well, that's the imposter syndrome.
For sure.
Because right now you probably are one of very few voiceover artists who could specialize in that because you're knowledgeable. So the minute you get in the group, there probably will, I'd be surprised if there was even one other voiceover artist there, right? Because you now are picking a lane and going there. And that makes you the big fish in a small pond at that point, because now you can answer any question related to voiceover stuff. And you become the expert there.
I definitely have the imposter syndrome thing we all do, but but I feel like, well, all these motion graphics people have probably worked with other voice talents, so I'm not fish, but also a lot of their work, like some of their work, I did one that he won like an award for, and it went like international, and I got like a huge job from an Italian client for doing virtual reality from just hearing that video. Like I've gotten reached out to where they're like, many people reached out to me for this one video I did called Light in the Dark. It's a beautiful video and he's so talented. And that video has generated just them hearing my voice, and he put my name on the credits, which is also not usually done. And so people have reached out to me from hearing that video and hired me.
That's super cool.
I know, that's the stuff I love. That's so cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you know, as I always tell people about imposter syndrome is we all have the exact same challenges. We just don't know that we have the same challenges until we actually voice them to other people. And then we start to realize that imposter syndrome is a very common thing. And once we can push through those challenges, you know, it's not as big of an issue. You know, we know more than we think we know. We don't give ourselves enough credit, especially as solopreneurs and small business owners, right? Because we're in that. In my case, I'm in a office. You're in a sound booth, right? So it's like we often don't see the whole picture from just these tiny spaces that we live in and work in every single day. So it's a challenge. What I like to share with the listening audience and the people who are viewing on YouTube. What one piece of software, not specific to your industry, but what one piece of software has helped you grow your business?
I'm going to sound really dumb. So, software, like
what software are you using to run your business? Yeah.
I'm not using any. I'm using Excel.
Okay. That's okay. You're using Excel.
I'm not even using a CMR or CRM.
CRM. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah. It's a Scooby-Doo 54.
Are you using QuickBooks? Are you using task managers? Are you using?
I'm so like, again, every year I get better, but I don't source anything out. I do everything from an Excel spreadsheet. I do all my accounting. I do all my everything, all my thank yous, all my, like, everything I do is from an Excel spreadsheet. And then as far as software, like I use a thing called Twisted Wave is my software for editing.
For your editing software. Yeah.
But like I'm so.
Okay. So you're using Excel, which is old school. Nothing wrong with that. I just hope you're backing it up every day.
I'm going to ask
That's your goal then for the next week is to figure out how to get that backed up every day. Because I early on used Excel, and Excel files can get corrupted and unable to be opened. So just back them up every day.
Okay.
And then you'll be safe.
And I use Dropbox a lot because I have a lot.
There you go.
I have a lot of I pay for the higher version.
Yeah.
So because I have a lot of files that I can't lose that are like, voice files, and it's a lot.
So there's your backup, by the way, for your Excel.
Yeah.
Drop it up in there every single day and you're fine. Yeah. I use Dropbox too. Dropbox, folks, is a great tool for file sharing and also just really great for backing up your files. Just pay for the premium edition. I literally just got 610 photos from a trip I took to the Grand Canyon. Oh, wow. And I wanted to share them with the 8 other people that were on the trip. I put them in Dropbox, right?
Yep. I use it every day, all the time.
Every single speaking video I get goes into Dropbox. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this is a great tool to use. So consider Dropbox if you're not already using it, folks. All right. And then final question for you. Business book. What business book would you recommend somebody else read? Are you looking for your Scooby-Doo book?
Wow. I have some vision issues, so I don't read like
audiobook though. Do you listen to them or?
I do. No, I listen to a lot more like YouTube things. I remember one of them that a friend of mine referred to me years ago, and I did read. And at the time, it's interesting. And it's this quick read, Eat the Frog or Eat the Frog. Yeah. Which is, and I don't know.
Eat the Frog?
Eat that frog or eat the frog. It's just like, like kind of do the hardest thing first. Versus like.
It's called Eat That Frog, 21 Great Ways to Stop Procrastinating and Get More Done in Less Time by Brian Tracy.
Yeah. I'm still working on that. I really struggle with my time management. I literally get distracted and then I go, I'm going to audition.
A squirrel.
Look, a squirrel all the time. Totally.
One of the things that we've talked to a lot of people about is outsourcing, right? Trying to find ways to outsource the business side of it, not the creative. You're the voice, be the voice and let all the other stuff.
So I've thought about that. I think there's this like thing with me that my whole brand is very personal, very like connected, very real. So every client I have, every email, every reminder for their thing is just me looking at my spreadsheet. Oh, it's past.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't involve clients in what you do. Like you've talked a little bit about the marketing, and stuff like that, and social media.
Like,
You mentioned website.
I don't understand how you'd market because you can't just I don't do like mass market where I send a million things out to a thing. I'm the girl that takes every production company. Hi, I find out who I'm talking to. Hi, Sally, whatever. And I don't just send how it is on LinkedIn. If somebody sends you my demos, delete.
No, that's no good.
A moment to know who I am. I don't do that. I do everything personal, which takes a lot of work and a lot of time, and it's not like a mass thing. And so I don't know what I would hire someone for, maybe to find me.
Well, you have a website.
I do.
So you don't have to manage that.
It's a WordPress. I have
so there's one thing you could outsource.
I do outsource that now that you say that.
There you go. Yeah.
Sort of.
It's a start.
I do it myself and then I mess it up. And
it's a start.
Can you fix what I just messed up? I'm really bad. I'm I shouldn't touch it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and I owned a web company. I learned early on that the owner in the company, that the company makes more money when the owner's not present.
Very true.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Well, this has been such a great episode. How can people reach out to you, Michelle, and do some networking if that's what you're open to, and learn more about your services? Where can they find you, and how can they find you?
So I guess the most central would be to go to michellefalanga.com or michellefalangavoice.com. But if you went to michellefalanga.com, will it be showing my name on the screen there?
Mm-hmm.
Spelled just like that with no space, michellefalanga.com. If you click, there's an acting page, a writing page, and then the voice. If you click on the voice page, it will actually redirect you to Michelle Falanga Voice. So I would just say to go to the main one. And then on that page, there's you can also click on there's the social media icons, my Vimeo page and my YouTube page, and both on the website and on those Vimeo and YouTube are tons of samples of my work, many in samplers of different genres, and then actual whole spots of different work that I've done. So
very cool. So so you folks can go see some of the Carnival Cruise Line stuff she's done, and I've seen some of her work. It's pretty cool. You'll notice a lot of brands out there that you're familiar with that Michelle has lent her name to in compensation exchange. And it's always cool to have somebody different on. We've had a lot of coaches on this show. We've had just a lot of different service providers of all types, but to have a voiceover artist, I think, is really awesome. And so it's a unique approach, and I think for people to hear how you grew your business and how you get your leads and how you do your referrals is super, super awesome. So thanks so much for joining us on here. Folks, if you're listening on any podcast app on your phone right now, make sure you subscribe to the Mass Business Podcast. We greatly appreciate it. And if you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you get notified every single day we release a new episode. And until next time, don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you. Take care.
Waking up this morning, gonna grab myself a smile.
Thank you for listening to the Mass Business Podcast, where we focus on growing a small business and understanding networking and referrals. Don't forget to like on your favorite platform and share out this podcast. This show has been produced by Heather Grant, music by Celtic Kelly, all rights reserved. I'm your host, professional speaker, author, and word-of-mouth referral consultant, Matt Ward. Don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you.
Feeling alright. High five the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. High five the world. Make a difference today. High five you feel what I'm telling you? There's really nothing to it, it's just an attitude.